Hello, everybody, and welcome to Witch Krispies, a special Burn the Witch podcast. This is the first time we've actually done a podcast like this. I'm your host, Errol Moss, and with me, as always, is the phenomenon from Suriname, Jason Corder. And so we watched all of the Burn the Witch anime, and Jason also additionally read the one-shot because there's quite a few... I guess there's a lot of additional information and stuff. We'll get into that later. But first, we're gonna discuss our experiences with the author's previous work, and stuff like that. So first, with Bleach by Noriake Tite Kubo, I've seen like a few episodes, but I've just never been that into it.
Is there a reason for that?
You have a lot more experience than I do with this. I don't know. It's one of those things where like, cause it was out around the time that like Naruto was big, right? Or getting big. So I was like into Naruto a lot, and then Bleach. Like I didn't have anything against Bleach. I just wasn't really that into it. And I feel like a lot of times I was never really up late enough. And now I've seen like a few more episodes of like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I'll watch more of it at some point. I also just randomly watched, like, at one point when it was on Adult Swim, the Diamond Dust Rebellion, which I really liked.
Oh, but you were probably lost in all the details with not having.
I just knew who I knew who Hitsugaya and Ichigo were, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it's all streaming on Crunchyroll now, so you could follow it there. And Shonen Jump.
It's on Netflix as well.
Shonen Jump also has the manga available for free, so you could read it there.
Weirdly enough, I think Netflix doesn't have... I think they have the first movie, the third movie, and the fourth movie. They don't have the Diamond Dust Rebellion for whatever weird reason.
Probably a rights thing they have going on with Funimation.
Maybe.
Seems like. I mean, in my region, we don't have any of the movies except the live action one, which is not the greatest, but it's not all that bad.
There's also that.
We do have the show on Netflix, but it's all with Spanish subtitles, so we're forced to stick with the Crunchyroll offering. So there is that.
Sorry, some people being kind of loud outside.
That's fine. So besides Bleach and now Burn the Witch, have you read any of the other things by Tite Kubo? Like, say, or not read, maybe watched or played, like the recently released Sakura Wars game on PS4, which he did the character designs for, the main character designs, I should say.
You played that, right?
Did you?
I did not.
There's also an anime based on that, Sakura Wars Iteration, which is, for all intents and purposes, a sequel to the game. Let's see. He also has a manga previous to Bleach called Zombie Powder, which ran for 4 volumes. I did read that, but I didn't finish it because I never could keep my attention, or grab my attention for too long. But yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on Tite Kubo's works, his style, the worlds he has created?
I mean, again, I don't have as much exposure to them as you do. Like you watched through like all of Bleach when it was coming out, or like read it, or
I've
what?
read all of the manga, including the pilot, I want to say. I've seen most of the anime. I think I stopped during the Hueco Mundo arc because it just kept dragging. Also due to all the filler. So it kind of came to a point where it didn't make sense for me to keep waiting on the anime. So that's why I kind of shifted towards manga. That's actually the first time I shifted towards manga or read manga, because previously I was all anime only. And then I think it was the Soul Society arc, the Rescue arc, where I was super hyped for what came next, and the anime just wasn't up to date, and I was like, okay, there's only one thing I can do, and that's read the manga. And let me tell you, catching up.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens, right? It's like, oh, I want to watch more, but there's no more until later, and oh, I guess the manga's ahead. I guess I'll just start reading that.
Yeah, but let me tell you, catching up on manga on dial-up modem. That's a challenge. So we did that. But as for me, my history with Bleach is pretty much my first real anime series that I followed week to week or day to day, because I saved up a lot of episodes before I jumped into it, and it was really the show that kind of shaped my weeb identity, I want to say, because I don't know if you've seen it, but most of my online screen names are Ichigo, from Kurosaki Ichigo, the main character of Bleach. So that's that.
It's not because you're a strawberry?
It's because I was a diehard Bleach weeb. I kind of still am. So yeah, I just liked the concept of a group of Grim Reapers, because that's what Shinigami kind of are, going around and purifying the spiritual world from malevolent spirits, or spirits that can't pass on to the next realm or life. And then that evolving into a shonen battle manga. It was all great to see, and then my imagination just ran wild when I saw all the Sanpakuto and all the Bankai and Shikai forms of those Sanpakutos, and the wild character designs for the captains, the lieutenants. It was just so wild to see, and I have been a fan of Kubo Taito's work ever since. His character designs are so striking, and he can always blend various influences into something that you'll never expect, where he has like Sentai influences, he has Saint Seiya influences, he has hip-hop street fashion influences, and
excuse me?
Once you start reading the manga or watch the anime, it'll be very apparent, even with Burn the Witch, with Bruno Bangknife and his Rickenbacker. It's all based on fashion and kind of punk rock aesthetic, and it should be noted that Kubo Taito is a really big rock and roll fan or rock fan, and he loves fashion, and that's why you see that a lot in the character spreads or character portraits in the manga and in the inserts for the animes. So it's really cool to see.
If you hear noises, is my nephew on the train?
No, I can't hear anything, so it's fine. I've also played.
Just for the audience.
I've also played a fair amount of Bleach video games. Are
any of them good?
They're kind of your typical Bleach or anime brawlers. Mostly 2D. I didn't play the PlayStation 3 one, which takes place predominantly in the Hueco Mundo arc, because I didn't have a PlayStation 3, so I missed out on that. I'm currently playing Brave Souls on my mobile phone because it has a Burn the Witch banner, and I really want Noelle and Nini.
I thought you just got Nini,
I
right?
did get Nini, not Noelle, regrettably, because I was kind of hoping for that one, but alas. Yeah. I even played the Game Boy Advance Bleach game, which the West never got, I want to say. And that had a very interesting battle system that was based on Jankenpo, or rock, paper, scissors. So you kind of had to guess what your enemies would do, and then you had to counter that based on your inputs, or attack based on your inputs, and that was a very interesting thing, and even more interesting because it was totally in Japanese, so we were kind of guessing our way throughout the whole game.
Yeah. I do wonder with the new Bleach anime coming if they're gonna have
another video game.
Or with season 2 of Burn the Witch, if they'll have a Burn the Witch game eventually. Who knows? Once they have more material for it.
I doubt it. At best, it could be a brawler again, or a mobile phone fighting game. They're all already...
Burn the Witch VR.
No, I don't think so. There are already 3 mobile games for Bleach. So I think that's where they'll have the most success. Bleach has been out of the limelight for so long, despite still being super popular. It's still on the front page for Crunchyroll, so that's kind of a testament to how popular it has remained. But as for it getting a new game, I don't think so. You'll probably see Bleach and Burn the Witch characters in the next Jump Force game or what have you.
If there is another Jump Force game.
It's still selling, and people like it enough. So
yeah, it's still getting DLC characters somehow.
So look forward to that.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to like the background of this. So Burn the Witch is a manga series authored by Taito Kubo, initially consisting solely of a one-shot released in the July 16th, 2018 edition of Shonen Jump, before later being followed by a 4-chapter serialization set a month after the events of the one-shot. Oh, I did not know that. And then it's the first work he released since the last chapter of Bleach was published in August 2016, and takes place in the same world, set 12 years after the Quincy Blood War and 2 years after the events of chapter 686, which is that like the last chapter of Bleach?
Yeah, that's the last chapter. A very interesting thing about Burn the Witch manga, it's in a seasonal format. So the 4 chapters that follow the one shot are part of season 1, which is very unique for manga because usually it's a straight to serialization thing where you either burn out or you remain popular for years on end and kind of keep going until you run out of material or your popularity wanes, which is very strange. I'm guessing it's because Kubo has enough seniority to say, let's do something different. Or maybe it was Shonen Jump saying, you know what, the world is changing, digital is moving the way we tell stories into a different direction. Maybe we should approach this in another way, and that resulted in the seasonal format. Probably. I did send...
It's an interesting experiment.
Yeah, I did send Viz an email asking about this, but they never got back to me, so speculate away.
Okay, so for just for like an introduction to the story of Burn the Witch, this is from the official anime website. In this world, there is a front side and a reverse side of London. Historically, 72% of all deaths in London are related to dragons, fantastical beings invisible to the majority of the people. While unknown to most, some people have been standing up to these dragons. Only inhabitants of reverse London who live in the hidden reverse side of London can see... Oh, that's a weird sentence. I guess it's translated from Japanese, but... can see the dragons. Even then, only a selected few become qualified enough as witches or wizards to make direct contact with them. The protagonists of the story are witch duo Noelle Nihashi and Ninny Spankole. They are protection agents for Wingbind, an organization for dragon conservation and management. Their mission is to protect and manage the dragons within London on behalf of the people. So, we're dealing with witches and dragons now instead of Grim Reapers and
yeah, well,
spirits.
It's
Hollows,
kind
whatever.
of more fitting for the culture of England, I want to say. Witches, wizards,
yeah.
Knights of the Round Table, Merlin, and all that, like sword and sorcery to sum it all up. While as in Japan, you have a lot of more spiritual bend to folklore.
Yeah,
or at least that's my impression of it.
Kind of like how, like, well, and I don't mean to compare it to like Naruto, but like Naruto doesn't really have any dragons in it except for that one Wii game, you know. And it's more, you know, Japanese culture type stuff.
Naruto is an interesting beast of a story because it's...
I just had not that good of not something else to compare it to, but I'm saying like I'm trying to say like it doesn't really have any London inspired, England inspired mythology. That I can think of, right?
It's predominantly based around ninjas, Buddhism, and samurai mythology to some extent. I think your closest equivalent would probably be the JoJo series, where you have like stories set in the English countryside and stories set in Italy and what have you. So based around that, you have kind of cultural touchstones that make their way into the story. And I think this is a very neat thing to do instead of rehashing let's say Ghosts and Goblins for England and having Grim Reapers being traditional black cloaks or like pinstripe suits, and it would probably end up looking like Soul Eater, the manga and anime. So I don't think you want to be too close of a reference to that. I'm a pretty big fan of how he visualized the story set in London and England, or the UK, if you will. It's very colorful. It's a very interesting mix, and I can't wait to see more of it.
Okay, so now we're gonna go through the plot synopsis and then just like kind of talk about our impressions throughout. I apologize, I'm not as good at this as like some other podcasters, because this is our first time doing this, but I shall try.
Well, do you want to do the whole thing, or should I just sum up the one shot in a few sentences?
What do you mean? No, if there are like specific differences with the one shot or information, just let me know, and you could because there was quite a bit of stuff that like felt missing or like unexplained that probably was explained in the one shot.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know.
So, you know, we start with Ninny, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase this because I don't want to read directly the whole thing, you know what I mean? So, we start with Ninny saying how fairy tales are stupid. And she's running away from paparazzi because she's like a pop star, right?
In front London,
or something?
her alias is a pop star. So I guess that's why the paparazzi.
Which is ironic, given that there are paparazzi following her all the time, and she wouldn't want people to know about Reverse London. So
I mean, you still need a life in Front London, if that's also.
Yeah, but like the fact that it's that specifically,
I mean, it's neither here or there for me.
And then annoyed by reporters asking why she left her band, and by one of them bumping into her, she uses like a weird flash of light. I don't think it was just her phone. She probably did something to make it like a big colorful flash. And then she goes into an alleyway. She scans a Wingbind coin and opens the passageway into Reverse London. So and then we go to we cut to Reverse London, and we see our character Noelle, and she's riding her broom buggy, which is apparently a type of dragon.
Yeah.
I thought the whole time they were brooms shaped like dragons.
So
no, they're actual dragons for some weirdly.
The thing in the Burn the Witch world is that dragons are kind of a source of many things, like electricity, food, material for clothing, what have you. And in this case, you have broom-shaped dragons that serve as transport for the quote-unquote witches.
The way that nearly every creature is like a type of dragon reminds me a lot of Dragon Drive.
Okay.
Just because a lot of the dragons just don't look like what you would conventionally think of as a dragon. You know what I mean? Anyways, she's hunting a bud buck, which is this deer type of dragon that has flowers on it that bloom. And what was it that happened? Their value goes down if they're in bloom for too long or something. It wasn't clear to me.
It's kind of like when you're hunting for game and past a certain point, they're less valuable for some reason. So I guess you can.
I don't know anything about hunting. So
let's just say past a certain point, the value expires. So you want to make use of it as soon as possible.
So she didn't want it to bloom yet. She warns the deer against using its magic because it'll cause the flowers to bloom. Then we see a wombat head dragon burst through the treetops. And then Noelle uses blue spark from her gun. The magic in this is so interesting because they're like code something or something.
Like magic number X.
They're like, magic number X, or like in the Crunchyroll subtitles, didn't it say like code something?
Yeah, that also works. It's kind of like when they use Kido in Bleach. Those are incantations or spells that the Soul Reapers use.
Or like, kind of like, and I hate to do another Naruto comparison, but when they say the element before they.
But that's a very shonen trope.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just I think it's just because with that it's magic specifically. It's not
Naruto specific. It's a very shonen trope. So don't worry about it. Yeah.
I think it's just the way that it's number blank is interesting.
It's something that carries over from Bleach. There you had a bunch of Kido, and that's also separated by numbers. So you have Kido number 16, Kido number 45, that sort of thing. So that's something that carries over into the Burn the Witch world.
Let's see. So her like wand gun thing releases a 5-pronged blast and leaves the dragon reeling back and results in it turning around to fly away. And while Noelle and Budbuck are sent flying back by the wind pressure from this, Ninny uses magic number 44, Flash Bumper, so that they're caught by the net. And then Ninny flies down on her own broom buggy. And she's like, Noelle, what would you have done without me?
Yeah, basically. They have a very friendly, antagonistic relationship. Like almost sister-like, where you tease each other a lot and kind of give each other a hard time, but out of love. So it's really nice to see.
And then it's like, why do you have to call me Ninny when I'm older than you? Like, I'm your senior. And Noelle's like, I'll stop calling you that when you start calling me Noelle. And like,
yeah, because it's a thing in it's actually a very Japanese joke or thing, because you don't typically call someone that's older than you by their first name out of a sign of respect. So that's why you usually hear me, if Errol was older than I was, I'd refer to him as Ma son, until he'd be comfortable enough with me calling him by his first name. Then I'd call him Errol kun or Errol chan or Errol san, that kind of thing. So it's a very Japanese specific joke.
Senpai.
Yeah, or senpai.
And then we find out like Noelle just kind of casually is more casual and informal a bit, and that comes back a little bit later to a more humorous effect. But so they're standing beneath they go back to what is it, like the headquarters, because they're exchanging their like achievement points.
Yeah, so every case they work on, or a case, nets them a reward, monetary or...
Which I get from clients, by the way.
Yeah, monetary awards or rewards, or say achievement rewards that help them get up to the next rank, or maybe into another division of Wingbind.
Yeah. And so Noelle was kind of disappointed that she like barely got any points, and then Ninny got most of them. Or was it the other way around?
Yeah, something like that. Noelle gets a bit more points than Ninny. But it's a minor thing. It's just to show the humor between the people.
Yeah, Ninny asserts that she knew Noelle was after money and responds to Noelle, noting that she could simply transfer all the money she makes in Front London by claiming that she cannot do so out of pride. Upon seeing she lost achievement points, despite how carefully she picked the flower from the antlers of the bud buck, Noelle laments this as Ninny celebrates getting points, as well as points to her assistance toward the end that saved the bud buck as the reason for this. And then it seems like they have a bunch of fans because they pass by a group of dudes that are like, hey, what's up? You know?
Yeah, they're pretty much
a bunch of fanboys.
Being portrayed as the popular girls in their division, at least.
Yeah. And so then we hear something, and it turns out to be their other friend, this guy Balgo, and he's holding on to this dog dragon.
Osushi. Yeah.
This adorable dog dragon, Osushi. With huge this tiny dog with huge wings, and there's a clothing line.
Well, it's the dog is actually a major plot point from the one shot, which we'll probably dive into
type of dragon
later.
A little later, yeah. So, though initially apathetic toward helping Balgo and debating whose responsibility it is to do so, with them eventually deciding to let him be and instead get drinks from a vending machine, Noelle and Ninny are interrupted by Billy Banks Jr., who is their supervisor, who declares that they need to look after Balgo due to the likelihood of him dying at this rate, because he is dragon-clad.
Yeah.
Which means he...
due to his exposure with dragons, he became infected with dragon particles. So biologically speaking, at least in this world, he's more dragon than human. And since Noel and Nini,
he is technically a dragon.
Noel and Nini are tasked with the preservation and conservation of dragons, they have to take care of Balgo.
And the thing about Dragonclad is they attract other dragons. So if they're just like that close to human, they can get into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Sorry, there are a lot of people outside. So Nini dismisses this and refuses to look after Balgo in addition to a regular job because she and Noel are not getting enough money or achievement points for it. But Billy says that he visited the relevant stakeholders and got Noel and Nini approved for overtime and bonus achievements. He's a good boss.
It's a
He's pretty chill.
very modern thing to have achievements and very much have the main characters be in tune with social media and their mobile phones. So props to Kubo for including that.
Yeah, and so after finishing their drinks, Noel and Nini hop on their broom buggies as Nini lays out their selfish motivations for doing this, and concludes that they will tell others they are doing this for social justice if asked before blasting off into the air, leaving Billy to observe that they should shout that last part first. Elsewhere, several citizens of Reverse London are perturbed by Balgo and Osushi flying through the air, and a chimney sweep is asked to clean a roof despite the possibility of a dragon being on the loose, only to frantically warn Balgo not to come toward him upon seeing the ladder. Despite this, Osushi crashes into the rooftop, knocking the man down onto the balcony, and as an apologetic Balgo inquires if he got hurt, the man narrowly evades a chimney broken by Osushi that falls on him, and clarifies that he is not worried about injuries and questions what he is supposed to do if he is arrested for dragon interaction due to Wingbind headquarters being so close. Before Osushi can wreak any more havoc, Noel and Nini fly in to grab him and Balgo respectively, which prompts Balgo to thank Noel for saving him, as an irritated Nini points out that she's the one who saved him. And then they get Osushi and calm him down. Noel calms him down, and his wings retract. And when Nini asks Balgo what he did to Osushi, Balgo asserts that he did nothing, and then this happened while they were simply on a walk. But as we find out, there are certain reasons that when Osushi's wings sprout. Upon being thanked and asked by the man about the broken chimney, Noel instructs him to use dragon insurance. That made me laugh she was like, yeah, your dragon insurance will probably cover it. And I don't know why. Something about that. I was like, dragon insurance.
If you're in reverse London and the realm is populated by dragons that can wreak havoc at a
no, I mean, it makes sense. I just thought it was funny. What's the man denies? With Nini telling her to do an exam, Noel complies and holds out her phone for the man to lick, which is kind of weird, which he does in embarrassment, but he was clean. Balgo questions what happens if someone touches a dragon, prompting Noel to explain how the dragon contact prohibition passed in 1609 for the protection of both humans and dragons sentences any who violate it to 100 years in prison, before Nini concludes that they can also be executed. With Noel's phone determining that the man's dragotoxin levels are normal, to Nini's surprise, Balgo proclaims that this is a relief, prompting Nini to repeatedly elbow and punch him while reminding him that this mess was his fault.
So the thing,
Balgo's just kind of
the thing about this here is it's kind of a callback to the one shot, which isn't covered in the movie slash series, where Balgo faces the same predicament because Osushi and his friend Shelby turn out to be dragons, and because of his interaction with dragons, he becomes a dragonclad. But before he was deemed a dragonclad, due to his interaction, he would either be sentenced to either form of punishment.
I don't understand though. How does a dragonclad differ from anybody else who
if you come into contact with a dragon, you're kind of a liability, and I'm guessing they want to keep loose ends tidy and not have it being leaked in front London that there are dragons about, and you don't want people spouting that as kind of reactionary or what do I want to say? You don't want to cause a panic with people shouting from the rooftops that dragons will descend upon them. Being dragon-clad is kind of different because you're biologically so changed that you resemble more dragon than human. And Balgo, having been exposed to a dragon for about, I want to say now he's probably 17, 11, so between 6 and 10 years. So his exposure level is a lot higher than a normal human with a dragon exposure would be. So I think that's why he's deemed.
Well, that and so then he ends up being a little more useful for the
and also because
bind.
he's dragon clad, he attracts other dragons.
Yeah. Noelle questions if Osushi sprouted wings without him doing anything, which a flustered Balgo confirms. Upon being asked by Noelle where this happened, Balgo is left perplexed, leaving Noelle to remind him that Osushi only sprouts wings when Balgo imitates his bark, when Balgo sneezes, when Balgo bursts out laughing, and when danger is closing in on Balgo.
Basically, yeah.
So it could have been any of those things. And then suddenly, as we find out, and this might have been why, a massive dragon appears behind Balgo and attempts to stomp on him, only for Noelle to pull him and Osushi away at the last second. This was a weird looking dragon.
Yeah, so that's a testament to Kubo's design capabilities, because he can make the most horrific monsters or enemies.
It had like elephant feet.
That's kind of the thing that
it reminded me a little bit of the. Have you seen the third How to Train Your Dragon movie? It reminded me a little bit of that. The female,
Nightshade?
Not the Night Fury. What is she? What was the girl one called? She was called like a something else Fury. Lunar Fury? Moon Fury? I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You have to kind of dissociate yourself from what dragons traditionally look like.
Oh no, I just mean like the color and like the shape is like a little similar, but I'm sure it's not like it just reminded me of that. It's not like. And then so then after observing that Balgo they followed her down using letters created by their witch kids, leaving the dragon to shatter the balcony with its head. And then this was kind of cool. They have these like little like different caution things that like, so they have like witch tape. That's like, it's like caution tape, and it's like witches and wizards only, and they put it up real fast. And I was like, okay, that was kind of
yeah.
I don't know, something about that I thought was a nice touch. And so then Noelle orders Nini to put up barrier tape, which he does, and uses magic number 4, stun ball, hitting the dragon squarely in the chin with tranquilizer and sending it falling back into a building. And then this next part kind of confused me. So though an annoyed Nini wonders why she was told to put up the tape when this was resolved so quickly, Noelle simply states that it was a precaution and calls Billy to inform him that they would like an additional reward for subduing a dragon, which she clarifies the appearance of was not their fault, and she admonishes Billy for complaining, and Nini tells the couple in the building to use dragon insurance. While Noelle admits she does not know what type of dragon it is and that they should remain subdued for now due to the tranquilizer she used, the face of the dragon bloodily slides off to reveal the dark dragon, which made things way more terrifying.
Yeah.
That was Because I was like, one, I didn't realize how. I'm like, wait, when did she cut the head? Because she just stunned it. Why does his face fall off? And I was like, oh, it has a face under its face.
Well, it's not the face under his face. It's kind of still the head. That's.
Is it kind of like when you cut the head off of a chicken? And it's still running around?
Similar to that. Let's just say they just sliced the face, but the dragon was still capable enough of moving. So yeah, it's a very
it couldn't see them, right?
It's a very nice body horror moment.
Yeah, could it still see them, or was it just kind of? I don't remember if it was just going all over the place. It's a
magical creature, so I'll say yes.
It probably could still sense them, yeah. The dark dragon lashes out at Noel with a tendril from one of the holes on his face. As a shocked Nini leaps forward and pulls Noel away, with the tendril slamming into the ground and busting open a fire hydrant that showers the area in water. The dark dragon approaches Noel and Nini, as the latter comments on the dragon not being tranquilized after all. As the dark dragon proceeds to chase Noel and Nini through several streets on their broom buggies, with Nini nearly falling off upon encountering a flock of seagulls, Nini calls Billy for an emergency dragon blockade on Rutherford Street. In response, a sign on Rutherford Street flips to display a blockade warning, and rusty iron bars fall over entrances as citizens on the street are informed by a broadcast from their phones of the blockade and instructed to seek shelter while Wingbind handles the situation. As Nini expresses her annoyance at the BBC being allowed to mention Wingbind like this. What was the BBC in this again?
I don't remember.
It's not front London BBC.
No,
It's a different thing. And that's what confused me when they said something about it. Noel attempts to inform Billy. Was that the council, or was the council called something else?
The High Horns.
I don't know. But anyway, Noel, we'll figure it out.
The top
Noel
of horns.
attempts to inform Billy of the blockade being set up. And the opportunity, I feel like they were called something else in
the top of horns.
And the opportunity for the Sabers to move in, but Nini presses the end call button on Noel's phone and grins as she whistles for Marshall. Upon being asked by Noel why she did this, Nini explains that this is their chance to prove how powerful they are to Wingbind. Though Noel points out how they do not need to be powerful in order to fulfill their duties as pipers, of taking dragons to pastures and harvesting from them, reminding Noel that she wants to get into sabers. I need a little explanation of the pipers and sabers. So you have
various divisions that make up Wingbind. You have the sabers that are more like the military / police. You have the pipers that are tasked with conservation. You see Nini and Noel have distinctive red cloaks on their shoulders, right? That makes them pipers. And they're tasked with making sure that the animals are herded and safely tended to.
And it's also based on their weapon, right? Because their pipes are also their wand gun thing.
You will later see Bruno Bagknife. He is of the Inks division. You have Roy B. Dipper of the Anthems division. You have Quintire Miliev of the Sacreds, or there was another name for this. Anyway, you have the Trombone Takinen, who's the director of the Pipers division, Sullivan Squire, who's the director of the Sabers division. You have Harry Scheik, who is the wiki is probably not complete with information, so I'll have to revisit this another time.
But it has a lot more information than I expected.
Yeah, the head honcho, that is Wolfgang Slashhout. He is the director of the Gallows division. So, various tasks within the Reverse London community is split up amongst these divisions. Think of the Gotei 13 and you'll be close enough.
So, okay. So, Nini hurtles towards the Dark Dragon, who is still pursuing Balgo, and shoots it with a blast from her Witch Kit. When the Dark Dragon remains unfazed by this and lashes out at her with its tongue, Nini circles around it and fires magic number 28 Rainy Wheel at the Dark Dragon. Down on the street, Balgo runs directly in front of the reeling Dark Dragon, and as he stands still in panic, Noelle lands in front of him. As she holds her gun by the barrel in front of her face, Noelle instructs to move back with Osushi and initiates magic number 75, Gatling Claw, leaving Balgo astonished. Meanwhile, the top of horns sit around a circular table and watch a projection of these events, with Inks director Bruno Bangknife noting that this seems to be a catastrophe and belligerently reminding them all that it has been a century since such an incident occurred. Anthem's director Roy B. Dipper calmly clarifies that it has only been 96 years, though an irritated Bruno asserts that this is basically a century and that it has been this long since they let a Dark Dragon enter Reverse London. Demanding to know how this could be anything other than a catastrophe and berating Patchworks director Sokka Rin for not even bothering to show up, as he orders Billionaires director Harry Shake to stop chewing gum. Bruno angrily questions if none of them have anything to say or if he is the only one taking this seriously. Though Roy points out how he did say something, Bruno ignores him and declares that Balgo should never have been set loose to begin with, before turning to Gallows director Wolfgang Slashnaut and asking him what he thinks. Wolfgang states that this matter has been brought up in their corps on countless occasions in the past months since Balgo became a dragonclad, and refuses to disregard the situation caused by their inaction, before concluding that they will commence proceedings to eliminate Balgo, which Bruno grins at. So Bruno seems to be out to get Balgo for whatever reason.
Well, not for whatever.
It seems like it's not just
for whatever reason.
It doesn't. It seems like it's more than just because he's dragonclad, though.
Yeah, it's because he's dragonclad. Because Balgo is a dragonclad, he attracts dark dragons, and the more dark dragons you attract.
But the other people don't seem to be so like. Well, while they don't oppose it, they don't really seem to be so
up in arms
all
about
that
it.
For it, you know what I mean? All that enthusiastic about it.
Well, it could be because they're confident in them containing the situation. It could be various reasons. It's just we have so little to go on with these 5 chapters and this one movie. So, for now, let's assume
4 chapters, right? Oh well, 5 chapters with the one shot. Yeah.
Yeah, let's assume that because Balgo attracts dark dragons, that's why Bruno wants to be rid of him.
So meanwhile, I'm just kind of thinking this guy's kind of a jerk.
Well, he is a jerk.
That continues in this next part. Yeah. Well, that keeps going because moving on to the next part. So they're watching news coverage of Nini's band and like their breakup. And she was upset over being replaced by basically a VTuber.
Not a VTuber.
But like a Vocaloid, yeah. V something. They used a different term in oh god, what was they used like a weird, like a made up term that sounded similar in the subtitles, but I forgot what it was. So there's a so Macy sees a video of Nini. Macy sees a video of Nini expressing annoyance that is pointed to.
It makes it seem as if she's angry with Macy. We should clarify that Macy is part of the band that Nini is also a part of. Yeah, she's part of Cecile Died Twice. Macy learns that it was published by a news organization called The Realist, prompting her dragon Ellie to angrily fire a blast through the television, destroying it. As she places her hand on Ellie's head, Macy thanks her for being angry on Macy's behalf. On Saturday, on the
whatever that, I guess it was Friday. That's weird. I just didn't know what day of the week it was in this movie, but it just says Noelle and Ninny are called into. Oh yeah, I remember, because they were like, oh, nobody's here. I was like, yeah, people don't usually come into work on Saturday. I forgot about that. Noelle and Ninny are called into Wingbind headquarters by Bill, and upon learning that they are being tasked with apprehending an illegally reared dragon, Ninny is left shocked while Billy elaborates that they received a tip about one being kept in the Western District of Reverse London. Observing that this is extremely notable, Ninny questions why the Pipers are being put in charge of such a case, and when Billy speculates that illegal rearing counts as part of their rearing and conservation duties regarding dragons, Ninny asserts that this sounds like a technicality, resulting in Billy telling her to count herself lucky that she is profiting off of it. Irritated by this, Ninny turns around and knocks over a stack of papers on Billy's desk before smugly pretending that it was an accident as he complains and begins to clean them up. Nearby, Balgo sits on a couch with the newspaper next to a sleeping Osushi and points out how Noelle seems to have not received any recognition for taking out the Dark Dragon yesterday, but Noelle reveals that this is due to him reading the Front London articles and uses her magic scan to switch the newspaper contents to the Reverse London articles, where Balgo sees that she has been designated as Wingbind's headliner on the front page. Oof, that's a lot of talking. And then hang on.
So it's just me for now. We're on what would typically be the second episode of the series, but you can probably say this is the second third of the movie. It's kind of confusing how they roll this out for the world. I mean, kind of reminiscent of the whole Digimon Tri thing, where you had 6 movies, if I'm not mistaken, but it being broken up in several episodes for an anime series. Waiting on Errol to come back. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope COVID isn't bringing you down too much.
Yeah, it was 6 movies.
Yeah,
but I think this had better pacing. Like it was able to be split into 3 episodes.
Well, it's also based on 4 chapters, so it's
so they had a bit of better source material.
Well, they had source material. The Digimon series didn't have source material.
Where was I? No, but they didn't have like a manga for Tri. Frontline. Oh yeah, so reading the newspaper, and she uses a magic scan to switch the newspaper contents to the Reverse London articles. Yeah, I remember that. I was like, that's cool, I guess. I mean, we've seen stuff like that before. That's not like anything that new. With Balgo praising how cool Noelle looks, an annoyed Ninny reminds him that she worked hard as well in the fight. Suddenly, Billy finds the form he was looking for in the scattered papers and states that there was an additional order in the request document. Sometime later, Noelle and Ninny fly through the air on their respective broom buggies, with Balgo seated behind and clinging to Noelle. As an irritated Ninny wonders why they have to bring Balgo with them, Noelle points out how his predisposition for drawing out dragons makes him useful for their search. See? Exactly. After Ninny declares that she knows this, Noelle asks her why she is upset in this case, which leads Ninny to clarify that she is upset due to being unhappy rather than due to not understanding, as she compares taking care of Balgo to taking care of the class frog, with Noelle noting that this is a disparagement of him and inquiring if he will let this slide without rebuttal. Balgo blissfully proclaims that he is happy to be able to serve Noelle and to have his arms so close to... Oh, I'm not reading that. So Balgo's a bit of a... he's a... Balgo's a little bit of a weirdo, to put it in more tame terms.
He wants to see Noelle's underpants, that's it. It's a very Japanese anime joke.
Okay, so moving on. Sorry. Where was I? Landing on a nearby roof ledge. Oh yeah, no. And then she's like, "Oh, a drop from this height would be fatal." Like, by the way, you know, a drop from this. If I could drop you right now. Landing on a nearby roof ledge, Noelle gives Balgo the mantle and pipe of a piper, which Billy approves so that it would be clear at a glance that Balgo is working with them. Though Nini comments on his smug expression and wonders if he really wants to wear this, Balgo asserts that getting to wear what Noelle does is good. And then Nini observes that the West District begins around here and asks Balgo if he feels anything. When Balgo expresses uncertainty at what she means, an annoyed Nini specifies that she is referring to the illegally reared dragon. Balgo reminds Nini that he only has a predisposition for drawing dragons to him, not communicating with them. So he can't really sense them. That's what Osushi is for, I guess. Since Osushi can sense when he's in danger. However, before Nini can berate Balgo further, she is interrupted by a loud explosion and looks over her shoulder to see smoke rising from the office building of the realist. Shocked by this, Balgo states that an explosion seems like a big deal, and when Nini dismisses it, Balgo wonders why she is not heading over there, prompting Nini to explain that dealing with terrorists is out of their jurisdiction and a job for the police. Despite this, Noelle decides that they should head over it in case it involves their dragon, which Balgo praises her for, and notes that there will probably be points involved even if it is not the dragon, resulting in an exasperated Nini following her on Marshall. Upon reaching the building, Noelle identifies it as belonging to the realist, while Nini admits that this is why she did not want to come here. With a large crowd gathered outside that begins fawning over Nini's presence, Balgo brings up Nini being featured in the realist the other day. Nini tells him to be more specific since she is featured in their headlines 3 times a week, leading Balgo to clarify that this was a video of her expressing annoyance that was portrayed as her hating Macy, to Nini's bemusement. When Noelle observes that no one is inside the building, Nini points out how it is Saturday and states that the realist is less exploitative than Wingbind is. Suddenly, Nini sees Macy standing at the window on one of the upper floors and calls Marshall, who flies her up to the side of the building while Nini calls Wordsworth to follow her, instructing Balgo to blend with the onlookers when he attempts to join her. Shielding herself from falling glass when another window is blown out by an energy blast, Nini enters the building through the destroyed window and observes that her eyes were not deceiving her. Upon being asked why she is here by Macy, who steps out from behind a corner, Nini returns the question and inquires why Macy is in reverse London. Macy comments on the realist writing a terrible story about Nini hating her, only for Nini to point out how it was the office of the realist in front London that published the story rather than the one in reverse London. As Macy explains that she came here to destroy the realist because they only publish stories that harm Nini's reputation, Nini begins to assert that she is used to it, but picks up on what Macy said and questions if Macy caused the explosion that just occurred. However, Macy reveals that it was Ellie who comes into view behind her, which is like a pink, crawling, weird dragon thing.
Well, pink.
Another weird-looking dragon. What do you say?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say pink dragon. It's just the flesh is pink-ish.
Beige.
It's more of a white, silver-colored dragon.
Yeah. Just a weird crawling dragon with multiple legs. And then as Macy explains that she came here to destroy the realist because it comes in a view behind her. As a mortified Nini mentally notes Ellie's size and requests that Macy hand it over to her since direct contact with the dragon is a felony in reverse London, which she does not expect Macy to know. Though Ninny promises that she will stay quiet about this so Macy does not get in trouble, Macy refuses to hand over Ellie, and as Ninny frantically warns her that she is doing this for Macy's sake, since the latter will end up dead if this is discovered, Macy counters that Ninny is the one who taught her to never believe anyone who says they're doing something for Macy's sake, while Ellie rushes toward Ninny. Suddenly, Noelle shoots Ellie with her wand thing, sending her flying back, and enters the building as she observes that Ninny does not seem happy about this, turning out to involve their dragon. While Ninny says that she would be psychotic if she were happy after discovering that this involves someone she knew, upon making eye contact with Noelle, who recognizes her and apologizes for not doing so sooner, an enraged Macy throws a desk at Noelle and demands to know why she is being friendly with Ninny before vowing to kill her. Yeah, that was funny, because like, because Noelle was like, oh, was I being friendly with you? Like, oh, she's always gotten jealous when I get too friendly, when she thinks I get too friendly with someone else. And Noelle was like, what, wait, was I?
Well, Macy has a crush on Noelle, on Ninny. I'm sorry. So
yeah,
that's
Ninny,
why she reacts so extremely.
I just love Noelle's reaction. With a confused Noelle turning to her for an explanation, an embarrassed Ninny informs Noelle that Macy has feelings for her and acts this way whenever Ninny acts friendly with other women, further perplexing Noelle. After observing that they cannot deal with Macy directly like this, Ninny flies up to the roof of the building while instructing Noelle to draw Macy's attention so she can subdue the ladder from above. Suddenly, a massive explosion bursts off the side of the roof, sending Ninny flying off Marshall and forcing Noelle to catch her, as Bruno notes that he sent her flying farther than expected, leaving Noelle to glare up at him. Okay, so we're getting to the final episode, or the, wait, was this 4 episodes?
3 episodes.
Or 3? 3 episodes. Oh, so it's, because it's separated into 4 different sections on here.
4 chapters, 3 episodes.
Yeah, so that's why it's separated that way. Outside the Top of Horn's meeting room, Billy peers around the side of the entrance before being confronted by Sullivan, who stands behind him against a wall with Arcvine and questions why he is here, with Sullivan admonishing Billy for being unable to say goodbye when he was transferred even after all she did for him. Billy admits that he has actually come by to give her a formal farewell in light of his transfer, but Sullivan assumes that he is lying and has heard of the crisis his subordinates are caught in. However, Billy expresses confusion at the mention of something happening to them. An unimpressed Sullivan notes that it seems unprincipled to not inform Billy since he is their direct superior, as she reveals that the elimination of Balgo was approved yesterday and that Bruno is on the move to initiate it. After reminding Billy of Bruno's methods and instructing him to look out for his subordinates, Sullivan departs with Arcvine, leaving Billy to muse on the messy situation. Meanwhile, at the realist's office building, Bruno inquires if Ninny is dead since he will need to write up an incident report if she died on the job, as a stunned Noelle seems to recognize him. This was funny, because I was like, yeah, this dude's kind of a jerk and I don't like his haircut. And then, despite Bruno presuming that Noelle's shock is due to her recognizing him, Noelle flatly states that she has no idea who he is. To Bruno's shock and irritation, while the battered Ninny identifies Bruno as the director of the Inks to her and wonders why he is here. Still annoyed despite Ninny recognizing him, Bruno calls in an emergency dragon blockade on Pentfront Street below that excludes the crowd of ordinary citizens but not Balgo, whom he describes as a wingbind employee identifiable by the piper's mantle he is wearing. As the blockade is erected, Bruno orders Balgo to be detained on the spot. Was that when Ninny was like, your haircut is dumb? Or something, right?
Probably.
And I was like, jeez. Cold-blooded. Like, yeah, I'm here to destroy that guy. It's like, yeah, well, your haircut is bad. With Bruno claiming that Balgo is the culprit behind the terrorist attack on the newspaper using a dragon, an astonished Noelle and Ninny realize that Bruno ordered Billy to give them the mantle and pipe for Balgo. Bruno confirms this and details the cover story of a dragonclad with the power to attract dragons attacking the office of a tabloid that once wrote a humiliating article about him, though he admits that he does not care whether or not this story makes sense. So he's basically framing Balgo for what Macy did. Upon being asked why he is detaining Balgo, Bruno reveals the elimination order set for Balgo yesterday. After detailing how this will put a bounty on Balgo's head within 72 hours, Bruno concludes that the one who puts Balgo down will have their name remembered in Reverse London for all eternity, elaborating that he is taking Balgo into the temporary custody of the Inks and that he is guaranteed to die once the elimination procedure is finalized. But as he warns Noelle and Nini to not bother negotiation or complaining since he is working within the scope of counter dragon law and does not plan on killing them unless they get in the way, Noelle insults the dye job of his hair. That's where I was. Prompting an enraged Bruno to declare that he will kill her and damage the front of the office building's roof with his power. Yeah, I don't like his design.
Wait, why don't you like his design?
His design is okay. I just don't like his haircut.
What's wrong with his haircut?
I just don't like the fade.
Okay. Odd thing to be against, but sure.
Or I don't like his fade, rather. Nini yells Noelle's name and clarifies that she was praising her when the latter asserts that she did nothing worthy of blame, only for Noelle to deny having done anything worthy of praise either. After claiming that he was treating Noelle and Nini nicely since they are low-class employees, Bruno proclaims that he will be writing up 2 incident reports today and does not care about the resulting workers' compensation forms. However, Noelle and Nini turn around on Wordsworth and hurtle toward the ground, leaving Bruno to express surprise at them not intending to fight him before seeing they are headed toward Balgo. With Bruno angrily instructing his subordinates who are accosting Balgo to look upward and activate their shields, Noelle fires a blast from her witch kit that sends the inks flying away and flies away with Balgo. When Balgo expresses incredulity?
Yeah, that's a word.
At Noelle coming to his rescue, Noelle simply observes that the end result makes it look like she has, which leads Balgo to celebrate this as luck being on his side, even though he does not know what he has gotten himself into. Up on the rooftop, a cursing Bruno finds Nini pointing her witch kit at the back of his head and stating her intention to ask him a question. As the smirking Bruno chastises her for her rude attitude and questions what she is being taught in the Pipers, Nini demands to know why Bruno brought Macy here and why she is with the dragon. And after telling her to keep it to one question, an annoyed Bruno affirms that he scouted Nini and brought her over, only to reveal that she found it. Oh, they messed up names. Macy. He scouted Macy.
Yeah.
And brought her over, only to reveal that she found and raised Ellie. Yeah, because Macy raised Ellie.
Yes.
Yeah, they messed up the names right here.
Okay.
From an infant, and denies her presence being his doing before informing Nini that Macy is one of the rare humans born in Front London with significantly strong magical abilities as a watcher who can see dragons. So do you have, was there more information on watchers in the one shot, or? No,
watchers is something that originated in the further chapters or anime/movie. There is some contention about her being a watcher because, well, you'll get into it later in the plot synopsis.
So basically it's just somebody born in Front London with significantly strong magical abilities and who can see dragons. Nini is left stunned by this revelation and the idea of Macy eventually making her way to Reverse London on her own, like she and Noelle did, allowing Bruno to kick her witch kit out of her hand and into the air while lecturing her on holding it while agitated since it could discharge. Suddenly, Noelle flies overhead on Wordsworth and grabs Nini's witch kit before firing it and her own at a shocked Bruno, resulting in 2 powerful explosions surging across the rooftop. Running out of the blast toward Macy, Nini calls Marshall and hops onto him as she grabs Macy's hand and pulls her into the air away from the building. Though Macy protests this, Nini assures that she is being taken somewhere safe, while Ellie bursts through an entrance on the rooftop behind them and roars in distress at the sight of Macy being carried off. Nearby, Bruno expresses frustration at Noelle and Ninny, attempting to take Balgo and Macy away from him, and summons his own dragon, Rickenbacker. This is where I got confused.
Why did you get confused?
Because I didn't realize that everything else was a dragon, so I thought dragons were always like hunted or something, or like not hunted, but like tracked and stuff. And so I'm like, wait, you have a dragon? Aren't you being hypocritical? But then once I'm reading that like the brooms are dragons and a bunch of other things are dragons, it's like, oh, okay, so they specifically...
Yeah, the things that are hunted or conserved differ by type. So you can have dragons that generate electricity, dragons that act as transportation. You have dragons that act as familiars for Bruno, Ninny, and Noelle.
Yeah, so we can assume that the inks all have dragon familiars as opposed to like broom buggies.
It should differ from person to person to division. It's something we'll probably explore.
Yeah, so that's what I'm curious to see.
It's something we'll probably explore in further chapters
in season 2. Elsewhere, Ninny and Noelle fly away. Ninny tells Macy to stop crying and reminds her that they cannot take Ellie since she is harmful to normal people. With Ninny declaring that she hates Macy's tendency to complain, a tearful Macy takes this as proof that Ninny really does hate her, prompting Ninny to wonder why she has to deal with Macy. Sometime later, with night falling, Noelle, Ninny, Balgo, and Macy rest on top of a large construction crane as Noelle notes that they should be safe for the time being after coming this far, and with the protective cloth she cast over them. Sitting beside Macy, Ninny inquires about what happened, and when Macy asks Ninny if she knows that Ninny never liked being in their group, Ninny somberly confirms this. Macy elaborates that she is simply a tall woman who can look beautiful and knows how to dance, which is why she was put in stylish clothes with fancy makeup and made out to be an icon of fashion and mystique. With Ninny assuming that this is why Macy quit, Macy clarifies that she would have quit a long time ago if this was the entirety of her situation, and that she could not quit because Ninny was there and Macy would have become a nobody again had she left. However, Macy recalls finding an infant Ellie 2 months ago and thinking that she was a hallucination brought on by drugs. I don't remember that.
It could just be exposition, so don't worry too much about it.
I remember the part where it's like showing her raised from a baby, but that confused me. Surprised when Ellie drank water after she brought her home, Macy explains that this led her to realize Ellie was alive, recounting how she fed Ellie all sorts of food, though the dragon preferred fruits and vegetables, and how she started to look more and more like a dragon as she got bigger while never using the bathroom. Macy concludes that she felt special due to Ellie being a dragon only she could see. After bringing up how Ninny and the rest of their group were amazing for their ability to perform on stage and sell merchandise, Macy admits that she was the only one who was not being her true self. Though she felt that no one would notice her if she quit, Macy observes that things changed when she brought Ellie home because it felt like the latter was giving her strength and would take her somewhere special. After detailing how Bruno came to her last night and told her he needed her and Ellie's powers, Macy asserts that it seemed like she was finally being led somewhere special and begins to say something to Ninny, only to be interrupted when Rickenbacker crashes through the cloth with Bruno on his back, and the latter inquires if Noelle and Ninny finished saying their final goodbyes. So Bruno was doing some sketchy stuff.
Yes, it's all kind of a plot to get rid of Balgo. Yeah, so he probably did that to keep up appearances and not just get rid of Balgo. To keep appearances that you have a functional democracy, you won't liquidate problematic people in broad daylight. So it's something along that line. To me, Uh-huh. Yeah, so I'll just go ahead with my problem so far with the manga and the show. It kind of feels, especially if you take into account the one shot, that a lot of the story is too coincidental. Like in the one shot, you have Balgo being a target for Osushi, who turns out to be a dragon, who wants to eat Balgo, and then you have his best friend Shelby, who also turns out to be a dragon, who also wants to eat Balgo, or the witches actually. So it kind of stacks up where, oh, you thought this thing was going to happen. No, it's actually this thing. But also, this other thing is happening at the same time. On top of there being too much exposition in this show / manga.
There we go.
And everything happening in quick succession, it kind of, to me, reads as a failure of storytelling. And it's just amplified by these 3 episodes / 4 chapters where everything happens just too coincidental and too close to each other, and it just makes it feel less believable to me. But go on ahead with your final synopsis, and then I'll go deeper into my thoughts.
Everybody wants to eat Balgo?
Yeah, there's that. And there is how everything is connected to Noel and Nishi and Balgo to an extent, and it's just too much for me, for my taste. It kind of feels like everything is predestined or predetermined, and not enough room is left for kind of organic storytelling. But I digress.
Okay, so a grinning Bruno lists off their multiple crimes and pulls a tablet out of his jacket to reveal that Balgo's punitive dragon designation has just been finalized, meaning that every witch and wizard in reverse London now intends to slay him, leaving Balgo stunned. With Balgo confused by Bruno's declaration that all of Wingbind is now hunting for him, Bruno deduces that Noelle and Ninny have not told him anything, leading him to maliciously assert that the smallest mercy one can give to a dead man walking is to not tell him when he'll die, which further unnerves Balgo. Huddling next to Ninny, Noelle suggests that they split up after she counts to 3 and take Balgo and Macy away. But though he cannot hear what they are discussing, Bruno reminds them that Balgo will be a target no matter where he goes in reverse London, and questions where they plan to take him. Suddenly, as Macy realizes they can hear Ellie's voice getting closer, a screeching Ellie drops down onto Bruno, who states that he no longer has any use for her and raises his hand to use magic, only for Ellie to disappear with stealth scale while still in midair, shocking those present. And then they realize, oh, this dragon can turn invisible. As she thinks back to her early encounter with Ellie, Ninny muses that she thought Ellie had simply been emerging from the darkness when she first appeared, but concludes that Ellie had actually been erasing herself from sight. With Bruno in disbelief at a dragon using stealth scale, Ellie's claw reappears and slashes through one of Rickerbacker's wings before rising into the air underneath the full moon and molting into her true form, Cinderella. While Cinderella lands on a clock tower in the distance, a stunned Ninny wonders how she completely changed her shape and size. So it's like turns from like a dragon into like a kind of like a moon phoenix looking thing. Basically,
in simpler terms, it evolves from an ugly dragon into a pretty dragon with bird type features.
Yeah, I'd call it. That's what I'd call a moon phoenix. Although it does have 4 legs, apparently. Now that I'm looking at this picture.
Well, reptiles and birds are cousins of each other, so they're distant relatives. So it's neither here or there.
Yeah, when Noelle speculates that Cinderella molted in the moonlight, Ninny begins to piece together what this could mean, prompting Bruno to affirm that Cinderella's use of stealth scale, her molting in the moonlight, and 6 talons on each of her claws mean that she is one of the Marchen. Upon being asked by Balgo what a marchen is, Noel explains that there are 7 dragons likened to and named after fairy tales who are rumored to have existed even before the formation of Reverse London. Snow White, Red Dress, Golden Axe, Bubbles, Sugar Horse, Band of Animals, and Cinderella, who only molts into a full-fledged dragon in the moonlight. While odd, Macy picks up on the name, Noel elaborates that the name also stems from Cinderella scattering star ash when agitated, which are like these... However, before Noel can finish recounting how star ash engulfs anything it comes into contact with in light according to her reference book, Cinderella spreads her wings and unleashes a flurry of star ash across the surrounding buildings, resulting in dozens of powerful explosions that startle those watching and lead Ninny to angrily assert that these are just bombs. Calling out to Balgo, Bruno proclaims that they're putting his elimination on hold. Yeah, Bruno said, oh, there are more important things right now, I guess. Because this thing is way more dangerous than Balgo. At least at the moment. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have something that's kind of destroying the whole city and a kind of defenseless guy that isn't harmful in the slightest, your hands are kind of tied behind your back and your decision is made for you. So
Bruno dons the face mask wrapped around his arm as he details how Marchen are the progenitors of dark dragons and permanently authorized for elimination, making them humanity's hypothetical I almost said hypocritical hypothetical enemy, though he admits that he never thought he would see one in person and considers it electrifying. With Ninny aghast at the idea of him trying to fight Cinderella, Bruno clarifies that he will be killing her instead, since he could not ask for a better opponent to gain recognition from, and after warning Noel and Ninny to not get in his way, Bruno asks Rickenbacker if he can manage with just 3 wings, and is heartened by Rickenbacker's affirmative growl while they take off towards Cinderella. Astonished by Bruno actually attacking, Ninny suggests that she and Noel perform a frontal attack and call for reinforcements from headquarters, only for Noel to decline because this has not nullified Balgo's designation as a punitive dragon, and any reinforcements they call will kill Balgo. Before she can disagree with this, Ninny sees more star ash hurtling toward her and quickly flies away from the building with Macy on Marshall as Noel does the same with Balgo and Osushi while the roof of the building explodes behind them. I love how it like she sees it and is like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like upon being asked by an incredulous Ninny if the star ash is sentient, Noel denies knowing and explains that her book only contains information about legends. Meanwhile, Bruno removes one of the spray canisters from his waist and sprays a symbol onto Rickenbacker's wing before summoning Hunger Shadow, who bursts out of the symbol and lunges onto Cinderella's head while attempting to bite her, only for Cinderella to it was like a shadow monster, effortlessly blow it to shreds with a blast of flame from her beak. With Bruno disappointed that Hunger Shadow could not even draw a drop of blood, Noel and Ninny join him in the air, which leads Bruno to inquire if they left Balgo and Macy somewhere safe, and Noel to confirm that they did. With Ninny questioning what area is even safe right now, Bruno requests that they cover him while he breaks the horn of the crown. While he breaks the crown-shaped horn on Cinderella's head, since this should kill her. This also just that them hunting these big dragons and stuff kind of reminded me of Monster Hunter.
I guess.
Just because like that and the whole thing, how like everything is classified as a dragon, and it's how like a ton of the monsters in Monster Hunter are classified as some type of wyvern.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. Though Noel questions if Bruno is certain that this is not simply a legend, Bruno reminds her that they are fighting a fairy tale and have nothing else to rely on before informing them that their value will be raised if they help him defeat Cinderella, and that he will even accept their transfer to Inks only to be annoyed when both Noelle and Ninny bluntly deny wanting. So like, nah, you're a jerk, dude. We don't want to work with you more. After separating from Bruno and Noelle and flying towards Cinderella, Ninny finds herself evading an enormous stream of fire breathed by Cinderella at her and realizes that the latter has already caught on to them. Flying up the side of the clock tower that Cinderella is perched on and evading more of her star ash, Ninny joins in the air above Cinderella and recites a full incantation alongside her in order to cast magic number 88, Supernal Jail, in unison, fencing Cinderella in a dozen large beams of light that become interconnected with a thick band around the middle. Impressed by this, Bruno paints another symbol in the sky and summons Greedy Curtain. Was it supposed to say like a word on it?
Yeah, just
when
joke.
he did this? Oh, is that what it's? I couldn't read it, like the letters or so. It was, yeah. It's cool that it is like spray paint magic. Enveloping Cinderella in its sludge as he promises that she will die as soon as she sticks her head out. Suddenly, Cinderella blows up both her restraints and the top of the clock tower, injuring Noelle, Ninny, and Bruno, who are sent flying back while she flies up. With Bruno standing before an incapacitated Rickenbacker and observing with frustration that Cinderella's own blast cannot kill her either, Noelle concurs with this as she sits next to Ninny, who claims that this is unfair, while Balgo expresses concern for Noelle. Oh, there's a lot more. This part. When Cinderella turns around and begins flying toward Noelle and Ninny, they erect shields with their witch kiss, as Ninny wonders why Cinderella is mad at them instead of Bruno. However, Macy pleads with them to find a way to resolve this without killing Cinderella, because the latter might be coming to see her, and as Ninny loses her concentration by turning back to admonish Macy for still being fixated on this, Cinderella blasts them both with a powerful explosion, leaving Ninny incapacitated. Rushing over to Ninny in concern, Macy begs Cinderella to stop and attempts to get the latter to recognize her. Despite this, Cinderella prepares to unleash more star ash before being interrupted by Noelle and Ninny attacking her. Ninny reiterates that this will not work and that Macy cannot reach someone she cannot get through to no matter how much she loves them, and as she requests that Macy stop treating this like a fairy tale where Cinderella gives her strength or takes her somewhere special, Ninny concludes that the magic always wears off in fairy tales because the power granting it never belongs to the protagonist. Wait. Does that track?
She's commenting that if you're the protagonist of a story, you are not the one casting the spell. The spell is cast upon you. Therefore,
by somebody else.
Yeah, the
or
spell
something
will
else.
probably run out at a certain point. That's why Ninny, I think she'll have the quote at the end of the anime, but in the manga, in the beginning, she says she'd rather be the one that's casting the spell. So, meaning she'd rather be the one that's in charge of destiny rather than have destiny happen upon her.
Yeah. Ninny sees Cinderella preparing to attack once more and moves to intercept her with Noelle, who instructs Balgo to clutch the pipe they gave him and tremble in a corner when he asks if there's anything he can do. Suddenly, as Ninny kicks him away to protect Osushi and Balgo tearfully complies by taking out the pipe, a sword blade made of energy sprouts from the end of the pipe, and they're all surprised by this because they're like, what is going on? Though Balgo questions what the sword is, Ninny counters that she should be the one asking this question, as Noelle wonders how it can be sprouting from the pipe, because they gave him like a little trumpet, right?
Yeah.
So just really weird. They don't know what's going on.
Well,
but he's just sitting there with a sword now.
It's probably it's just a theory for now, but it's probably tied to Excalibur and him being destined for something greater. That's why they're giving him such a low start in the series, so you'll warm up to him by the end of it.
Yeah. So, above them, Bruno circles around the building on Rickenbacker and is confused to see Cinderella perching on the rooftop. Upon looking behind her, Noelle sees that Cinderella has stopped moving and is looking intently, and from Wingbind headquarters, she's looking at, like, the sword, because, like, the sword stopped her, seeing the sword stopped her in her tracks. And then from the Wingbind headquarters, Billy fires a narrow, powerful beam of energy from the tip of his left index finger that pierces Cinderella's skull and destroys her crown artery, killing her, which bemuses him. The next day at Wingbind headquarters, Ninny is outraged that she and Noelle are not receiving any compensation for this job. Though Billy disputes that they are receiving nothing, Ninny clarifies that 5 points and 5 pounds is as good as nothing and not something she can accept after they slayed a legendary dragon. However, Billy counters that it is impressive for them to not be forced to pay anything since their pay was docked for all the proper damage sustained during the fight. Upon being told by Billy that Bruno was given credit for delivering the finishing blow, Ninny furiously declares that he did not kill Cinderella either, only for Billy to point to her wording as meaning that she and Noelle did not do so themselves. With Noelle resigning herself to this, Billy notes that the Patchworks are collecting and preserving Cinderella's corpse before having a blushing Macy enter the room in a new outfit. With Ninny aghast having to look after Macy as well, Bruno confirms this and reveals that Macy is now a Dragoncloud as well because she spent so much time with Ellie, which means they will be conserving her at home. While Billy and Macy assert that this will be fun, to Ninny's chagrin, Noelle asks Billy what will happen to Balgo. In Wolfgang's office, Bruno hands Wolfgang an application releasing Balgo from his status as a punitive dragon. Admitting that he never thought Bruno would give him this, Wolfgang recalls how the investigation determined that Balgo came into contact with Macy 2 months ago, and that this may have served as the trigger for Cinderella's appearance, which is reason enough to keep him alive should he serve as their trump card for eliminating the Marchen. Meanwhile, in the hallway where Billy shot Cinderella from, Sullivan walks up to two pipers discussing the extensive damage caused by Cinderella, and as they turn to greet her in shock, Sullivan asks them why there are boxes placed against the window. As the two pipers frantically apologize and move the boxes away from the window, Sullivan notices a small shimmering box-shaped barrier over the hole left by Billy when he kills Cinderella and shatters it with the tip of her finger before musing that she is glad to have not underestimated the son of a hero. We don't know what that's about.
Well, I don't know if you know about the AniTuber DBZ Imran. He covers a lot of Bleach and by extension Burn the Witch stuff. And he theorized, because there's a painting somewhere in one of the episodes of St. George slaying the dragon, which is a very famous story in English folklore or legend, that Billy Banks might be related to St. George.
Interesting. Later, Balgo swings Osushi around and praises his cuteness near an alcove. When approached by Noelle, Balgo informs her that Billy took his mantle and pipe, which he is disappointed at not being able to keep. Suddenly, Noelle embraces Balgo, and she confirms that something good happened. And the blushing Balgo laughs and congratulates her. I didn't know they had, like, more of a friendly relationship like that. I thought he was just, like, kind of a being pervy
based on the one shot. They are classmates or schoolmates at the very least. So that's where they...
So they are close friends.
I wouldn't say close friends. They know each other. And since the events of the one shot, Balgo has moved into Noelle and Nishi's apartment. Or is it just Noelle's apartment? Yeah. So I think their relationship has grown since then, at least on a platonic level.
However, Noelle leaps back into astonishment and fury when Osushi... No, not when Osushi. When Osushi doesn't request that. When Balgo requests to see your underwear, and then Osushi sprouts his wings.
No, Osushi says it.
Osushi can talk?
Yeah. Osushi
I
is
thought
a
that
dragon.
Was Balgo saying this.
Osushi is a dragon.
I thought this was Balgo talking the whole time.
No. See, that's kind of information that they cut from what was supposed to be the one shot. Balgo is someone who's crushing hard on Noelle, and like many pervy teenagers would like to see her underwear. So he repeats that as his catchphrase, and Osushi catches on that and repeats it from time to time. So when he repeats it at the end...
Yeah, I had no idea Osushi could talk.
Yeah, so
I just thought it was Balgo saying that.
for anyone also confused by just watching the anime, read the one shot.
Outside the Wingbind headquarters, Minnie and Macy watch as the gate is finally repaired with a crane setting the last portion in place, revealing the fully reconstructed Soul Society Western Branch sign, only for Noelle to destroy it once more with a shot from her witch gun as she pursues Balgo and Osushi on Wordsworth, with Minnie leaping onto Marshall to follow her. Noelle asks Balgo to stop running so she can silence Osushi forever.
Yeah. So, thoughts?
It not bad. A little weird for like one movie. I know it's only 4 chapters. It's I don't know. It went certain places that I didn't expect it to go. Like I expected Bruno Bang Life to be just like the villain, and then he was like him doing shady stuff, and like he had this plan to do more shady stuff, and then like that he was the main villain. I didn't expect like another thing to come, like another antagonistic force to come in, and it's like, oh, forget that. Now I have to do this. I
wouldn't say antagonistic. There's no antagonist in the whole story. Bruno is someone who's concerned with Balgo's presence, and Balgo's presence leads to Cinderella appearing. Or Ellie appearing, but Ellie is just a dragon. By extension, you could say she's just an animal. She's just going about her natural way, and the humans decide to get rid of her natural way. So there's no real enemy. There is no enemy in this story, which is very unique.
Yeah,
but there are larger things going on. So. At least there's hints of more dark dragons, like more fairy tale dragons. There is that of Billy Banks Jr. being the son of a hero and being super powerful enough that what he did was
a dragon.
Yeah, that was very unexpected. There's Balgo being someone capable of wielding weapons, which is
some kind of magic sword.
Yeah, which might or might not be Excalibur, and his ability to draw dragons towards him. Because earlier I was talking about how too much of the story is coincidental. You had in the one shot that Osushi turned out to be a dragon who wanted to eat Balgo, and then you had the best friend who was around or who was present during that debacle, who also turned out to be a dragon. Turns out his best friend died when they were 11, saving Balgo from an oncoming train, and then a dragon slipped into his body for some reason.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, and so that's why Balgo was exposed to dragon energy for so long, making him dragon clad, and probably then attracting Osushi. So you have that, and then Balgo coming to Reverse London, but before that bumping into Macy, and Macy bumping into Ellie, and Ellie being used by Bruno, and then Ellie also turning out to be a fairy tale dragon named Cinderella. So it's all too coincidental and too neat if it happened separate to each other, or if it was revealed by the end that all of this is happening because Balgo attracts people towards him, or dragons towards him. That would be a better solution to the storytelling. But this is just too much exposition, too coincidental. But besides that, it's very colorful, very fantastical, and I like it for that.
Like, to me, like I said this to you before, but like this whole movie seemed like kind of like an extended first episode of something.
Yeah,
like to me.
If you read the manga chapters,
but it still didn't have that much background.
If you read the manga chapters, you'd also come away with that expression that it's not enough information told, despite having so much exposition. It's just the start of something, and with it being seasonal, you'll probably get more in-depth looks into how the world works, who might actually be the villain of the story, and what the whole plot will revolve around eventually.
Yeah, I'm interested to see more, and hopefully I'll have watched a little bit more of Bleach by then. I don't know.
Well, it's all on Crunchyroll or Netflix, so you have your pickings.
It's all somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna have to cut this together weirdly. So this was our special little Halloween podcast that we're doing as a little fun thing. Happy Halloween! Remember to wear a mask. And eat candy if you want. Just remember to brush your teeth after.
And we'll see you next time.
Yep.